Gill.
Thank you, Mr Hollowbone, and it's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship. And I thank the Honourable Member for Glasgow East for this debate and his very passionate speech. I also want to congratulate the Send My Friend to School Coalition for their report and the work they do more broadly to call for quality education for all children across the globe. I want to thank the member for Crawley for his contribution, and it's wonderful to see schools in his constituency involved in the Send My Friend to School campaign. The Honourable Member for Edmonton, who shared her experience of education provision in Nairobi and concerns with Bridge, making the point that education is free from commercial interests. And the Honourable Member for Henley, who spoke in support of the 0.7% commitment for UK foreign aid. And this is really most welcome, reminding us for every £100 made in the UK, 70 pence goes towards foreign aid. And I really want to thank you for that contribution. And the Honourable Member for Liverpool West Derby, Chair of the IDC Committee, he made a passionate speech reminding us of our commitments to Sustainable Development Goal 4, not just globally, but here in the UK as well. And education in emergencies was also a key aspect of his speech, and I thank him for highlighting not just the challenges, but also offering solutions. And the Honourable Member for Strangford, Chair of the APPG for Freedom of Religion and Belief, who talked about children that are discriminated against based on their faith and belief when accessing education, and he also rightly raised concerns about what they are taught around intolerance of others' faiths. And I know he's a great champion in the work that he does, and I thank all members for their contributions. Mr Hollowbone, as we've heard today, the most marginalised are not a homogenous group. We must consider how people with disabilities are treated and catered for, how refugees and internally displaced people may be excluded from formal education, and what impact emergencies and conflict situations have on access to education, especially in countries such as the Central African Republic and the Democratic Republic of Congo, which may not garner as much international attention or resource mobilisation. Each group deserves to be recognised and the specific nature of their educational needs addressed. In the World Bank's World Development Report 2018, they declared an international learning crisis. Across the world, some 260 million children are not enrolled in primary or secondary school, and many of those who are do not receive the quality of education needed to equip them with the skills they need to thrive in adulthood. This report from the Send My Friend to School Coalition presents a series of practical suggestions on ways to provide quality education for all. Honourable and Right Honourable Members have today rightly raised issues and concerns they have about the vast number of young people who are not getting the education they deserve, and they are right to raise these concerns. Researchers at the University of Cambridge found that girls living in poverty in Pakistan and Nigeria spend an average of just 1 year in school, and just 2 years in India, Mozambique, Cameroon and Sierra Leone. This is even more shocking when compared with wealthy urban boys in those countries who receive between 10 and 12 years of education. Limited educational opportunities for girls is not only a human rights issue, as girls are unable to realise their right to education, but it costs countries trillions of dollars in lost lifetime productivity and earnings. Moreover, last year, Save the Children revealed that we are not on track to meet Sustainable Development Goal 4.1 to ensure that all girls and boys complete free, equitable and quality primary and secondary education, which will lead to relevant and effective learning outcomes. So does the Minister acknowledge this warning? And with 85% of children in low-income countries having no access to pre-primary education, what does she make of the chances of reaching target 4.2, and does she think we will meet the global goal of education for all? I appreciate that the Government has acknowledged there is a problem with marginalisation and inequality, particularly for women and girls. But unfortunately, they haven't always undertaken projects that will reach those most marginalised. The Independent Commission for Aid Impact Analysis of DFID support to marginalised girls, carried out in 2016, found that DFID does not have a coherent strategy for addressing girls' marginalisation in education, and that its various activities are not well joined up. ICAI went on to say they had identified a clear pattern of DFID programmes losing their focus on marginalised girls through the implementation process, leading to disappointing results. The Government has had almost 3 years to act on these disappointing findings. So can the Minister explain how the Government have addressed these concerns and what ongoing work they will undertake to ensure that all girls will receive the education they need? I would particularly welcome her response to these points, given that a more recent evaluation of DFID's partnerships with the private sector under the Girls' Education Challenge, the so-called strategic partnership windows, found that these projects undertaken in partnership with the private sector had little or no impact on literacy and numeracy outcomes of the marginalised girls that they reached, and that projects focused on marginalised regions, not always on the most marginalised girls, and most peculiarly for a project designed to reach marginalised girls, the projects actually reached more boys than girls. We on this side recognise the main way to address inequality and access to quality education is to build strong public services. And I welcome the fact that the vast majority of DFID funding for education goes to public education, but I am concerned about the minority of UK aid that is going to support for-profit private education, because, as I just mentioned, we know that such models cannot reach the most marginalised children. And on this matter of UK aid being used to support commercial education companies, I have to say I'm deeply concerned about recent reports about the Ministers' meetings in Uganda during January's Education World Forum, where she reportedly met with the Minister of Education to discuss expanding private British education centres in Uganda. So can the Minister guarantee that DFID's work in education will always prioritise the children who need to access education, and that she will not seek to use the aid budget to further the commercial interest of UK companies? And with regards to global education, the UK rightly seeks to be a global player, and to do this effectively, we must remain open to learning from others. The European Parliament recently passed a strong resolution in relation to its aid spending on education, and among other things, they concur with the recommendation in the report that we are discussing today that we should ensure aid to education is free from commercial interest and does not support for-profit providers, and ensures education is free and universally available at the point of use by reaffirming a commitment to not using ODA to support private commercial educational establishments. So does the Minister agree with this recommendation? I would also like to take this opportunity to congratulate those human rights experts who have drafted and adopted the Abidjan Principles on the Right to Education 2 weeks ago in the Ivory Coast. The principles recognise that free, quality education is a universal right, and that the role of private actors in education must be regulated to ensure it does not undermine this right. And when the final document is published in March, will the Minister agree to look at it and act on advice on the rules and regulations necessary to ensure that private schools do not negatively impact the right of everyone to access a free, quality public education? And will she encourage all states where DFID operates to ensure that all UK programmes, policies and projects are supportive of public education systems, which are really the most effective way to advance equity? Thank you.